stupefying, shocking, right? This is not like it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook.
All right, so Canada's fiscal outlook is really, really bad. And with a net zero climate zealot prime minister freshly parachuted in from Europe, whose side projects are confiscating people's legal licensed property and censorship bills, well, it certainly doesn't look like anything is going to get fixed. Let's take a look here. Here's the parliamentary budget officer. Now, the PBO is a nonpartisan who was brought in as a financial expert, a fiscal expert to advise the Canadian government. What does he have to say?
I mean, that was one of the hallmark fiscal anchors of the Trudeau government, right? And when it was 30.8, it was never going to go higher than that. That was kind of their commitment. And here we are in the table here. It's 41.7, increasing to 43.7. Again, how alarming is that for the average Canadian, for the taxpayer? Because there is only one taxpayer, right?
I'll hazard a response. It should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not, like, it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable, right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
Stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. You're done. If it doesn't change, you're done. I guess that Mark Carney's much celebrated, at least on the CBC, his much celebrated credentials aren't helping out the country all that much. Now, it would have been helpful if the CBC had talked to some people from the UK from his time as the governor of the Bank of England to see, like, well, how did he actually do? Okay, it's a great credential to have on your resume, but how did he actually do over there? Yeah, they didn't do that for some reason. I'm sure they must have reached out, but they didn't like what they heard about printing too much money, inflation, net zero, essentially wrecking their economy. They didn't want to tell Canadians about how pensioners in the UK have to choose between heating their homes and food in the wintertime because electricity is so expensive now. Stupefying, shocking. Independent channels like myself have been predicting this. We've been saying the entire time that Mark Carney is here to rob the country blind, right? He's here to extract every bit of wealth from this country, max out the national credit card to fund his buddies, for one, companies that he's invested in, but also his net zero pipe dream, which was falling apart, by the way. His banking alliance was falling apart before he became prime minister. I think that had a little something to do with him wanting to be prime minister, to try and solve it, to try and use Canada as his net zero laboratory.
And I think, as anyone who's managed a household budget knows, if you sit down at the end of the month and you don't have enough money to pay your bills, and it happens month after month after month, you know that something's going to break.
All right, so here is a liberal trying to spin this in a positive way, basically to try and trick the Canadian people into thinking that things are fine. Actually, it's going pretty good. Well, Brian Lilly reposted this. He said, Liberal MP asked the PBO, Jason Jacques, whether Canada is better off than other countries. The answer was the same. This is unsustainable. But he's trying to put a spin on it, right? How do you sleep at night, by the way? Trying to deceive the Canadian public into thinking that everything's fine when the PBO is saying, no, things are not fine. They're not funny. This is unsustainable. Something has to change.
And obviously, you project, so we're on a good fiscal path, or we're on a better fiscal path than some of our G7 colleagues. and you project our deficit staying under 2% of GDP and debt holding near the low 40% range. Would you agree that these kinds of thresholds are really, in practice, fiscal anchors that signal some discipline?
I would go back to one of the comments I made at the outset that like the most important word in the release this morning was unsustainable. We like it. I don't know. We didn't we didn't choose it carelessly. I've been in the office for 17 years. I was working in the federal government putting together budgets for 10 years prior to that. You got to be like, you choose these words with prudence and care. And certainly we don't want to be alarmist. And at the same time, like the current path we're on in terms of federal debt as a share of the economy is unsustainable.
Yet to hear this kind of language from a parliamentary budget officer is not normal. This is unusual. There's a reason why he's being so forthright about this, because he's very worried. He's making it as clear as possible that, okay, this can't continue. This is the road to destruction, right? Now, I think Mark Carney doesn't care. I think that he's going to pour as much money into these green boondoggles as possible. All of the, the carbon capture and all this kind of stuff, all this stuff that won't exist after the subsidies go away. I think he's going to extract every penny he can from Canadians and from Canadians' future by maxing out the national credit card to fund all of these green boondoggles. And when it's done, all of his friends will have made a ton of money, and he'll just skip off again. To what country will he go live in? I don't know, Ireland or something. He's got, like 5 passports, right? He doesn't have to stay in Canada. He wasn't very interested in being in Canada before he became prime minister. He just parachuted in out of Europe. So I don't think that he cares. I think that he's every bit as smug and arrogant and self-centered as he seems, as he appears to be every time there's a camera on him. Yeah, I think he's willingly wrecking the country for his own interests. That's what I'm saying.
And obviously, you project, so we're on a good fiscal path, or a...
No, we're not on a good fiscal path. That's what he's saying. Listen to him. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.